So we have a lot more vocabulary, and this is where we're going to talk about parallel lines cut by a transversal. So first, we need to know what parallel lines are, and we know parallel lines never ever intersect. So they never intersect, and those lines are called parallel. Arrows right here, and this is important in geometry. It's the marking on your diagram is how you know things on a diagram. The only reason you can say that these lines are parallel is because of these triangles right here. If they did not have those markings, you cannot assume that they are parallel, okay? So those arrows represent parallel. The symbol for parallel is two vertical lines side by side, clearly not intersecting. And a line that cuts two or more lines is called a transversal. So see how this line is cutting through lines L and M? That's called a transversal. Make sure you know that word. My son didn't know it in his geometry class, and I'm like, what? So two lines cut by parallel lines is called that transversal. Notice a line can be a lowercase script. So this L is referring to this line, and this M is referring to this line, and the T is referring to the transversal. They are all lowercase, so that's a big deal. So in the diagram to the left, in the parallel lines, so L is parallel to M, lowercase script, and the transversal is T. That's how you would write that. Lots and lots of vocabulary. Now, we have, I love these. Okay, here's what I imagine. When you have now you can only say these relationships. The only reason we can name these relationships is because we know that these are parallel. All right, so I always look at this as a hamburger. I like food. So if I cut this, if this is my hamburger, the buns, and this is the meat. You have inside the hamburger and outside the hamburger. So these are interior angles, and these are exterior angles. So interior angles would be 4, 5, 3, and 6, and exterior would be 1, 2, 8, and 7. Corresponding angles, if you imagine me cutting this right here in the middle, and I'm actually picking up all 4 of these angles, and I'm setting it right on top of that other set. I'm picking it up and I'm moving it. Angles 1 would lie on 5. Angle 2 would be right on top of 6. 3 would be on 7, and 4 would be on 8. So if you can imagine me picking them up and putting them down, corresponding angles are in the same position. So this one's top left, that one's top left. So corresponding angles in the same position on the parallel lines in relation to the transversal. These angles are always congruent. They're always congruent if these lines are parallel, right? So I can say that the measurement of angle 1 is equal to the measurement of angle 5. I can say the measurement of angle 2 is equal to the measurement of angle 7. I can say the measurement of angle 4 is equal to the measurement of angle 8. And I can say the measurement of angle 3 is equal to the measurement of angle 7. Equal. That is equality statements. Congruency statements are different. Congruency statements, you would say, angle 1 is congruent to angle 5. Angle 2 is congruent to angle 7. Angle 4 is congruent to angle 8. And angle 3 is congruent to angle 7. So, equality statements and congruency statements. Different but similar. Okay, let's look at alternating interior angles. So, alternating interior angles, again, I think this is where the hamburger comes in handy. You've got inside. So, we know that they're interior. They're interior. And alternating means they're opposite of each other. Notice how 4 top left, 6 is bottom right. These are alternating on the other side of the transversal. One's on top, one's on bottom, different sides. So angles 4 and 6 are alternating, interiors, and angle 3 and 5 are alternating. They're on the different side of the transversal and different positions. So opposite sides of the transversal, and they're on the inside. These angles are always congruent when those lines are parallel. So if they're congruent, I can say angle, let's do congruency statements here. So I'm not going to do equality, I'm going to do congruency. So angle 3 is congruent to angle 5, and angle 4 is congruent to angle 6. Those are my congruency statements. All right, let's look at alternating exterior. Alternating exterior is very, very similar. So now, exterior is there on the buns, but they do the same thing, opposite sides of the transversal. This one's on the top, this one's on the bottom. This one's on the top, this one's on the bottom. So 1 is alternating with 7, and 2 is alternating with 8. So for my congruent, and again, these are always congruent if those lines are parallel. So angle 1 is congruent to angle 7, and angle 2 is congruent to angle 8. All right. Consecutive interior angles, I've heard it both ways. You have consecutive interior angles or same side interior. Either one I've heard, but this one, consecutive interior, is kind of common, mostly. And what does that mean? They're on the same side of the transversal. So again, we know they're interior, so they're going to be on the inside of that hamburger. And consecutive interior just means they're on the same side. Same side of the transversal. So 4 and 6 and 3 and 6. Those are, okay, and these angles are always supplementary. They're always supplementary. They add up to 180 degrees, okay? So not congruent, supplementary. So you could say that the measurement of angle 4 plus the measurement of angle 5 is going to equal to 180 degrees. You can say the measurement of angle 3 plus the measurement of angle 6 is equal to 180 degrees. So that's the statements that we get consecutive interior. All right. So if I said, okay, sorry, now I'm moving a little slow. If I wanted to name these angles, so if I had to make my hamburger, those are my buns, and this is my meat. So now it kind of looks like a hot dog with that direction. But angle 1 and angle 5, those are all, I'm going to abbreviate, you're not going to abbreviate. Those are alternating exterior, and they are congruent. Okay? Angles 2 and 3, that's consecutive interior. So these guys are supplementary. So consecutive interior, and they are supplementary. They add up to 180. 2 and 4, these guys, if I cut them and put them on top of each other, they're corresponding. And they are congruent to each other. Excuse me. 2 and 6 are alternating interior, and they are congruent to each other. So you've got to know those angle relationships and how they relate to each other. Let's look at